Hey, what's good? I've kind of been noticing this for a while, but a few weeks ago, I really began to notice it extremely. The dark-skinned Black American community is dying off, and what I mean by that is you don't see, especially with children born within the last 10 to 15 years in the Black community, you don't see a lot of dark-skinned Black kids nowadays. Like whenever I see a Black baby, it's either light-skinned or brown-skinned. I rarely see a dark-skinned Black baby or toddler nowadays. I will see a dark-skinned I see a dark-skinned kid every now and then, but nowadays I don't really see dark-skinned children. Never see a dark-skinned baby or dark. I mean, whenever I see a Black child or a Black toddler or Black baby nowadays, 9 times out of 10, it's light skin or brown skin. And if this trend continues, um, if this trend continues within a generation or two, the average African American or Black American, whatever you want to call us, will look something similar to Stephen Curry. Let me repeat that. If this trend continues in the Black community, within a generation or two, the average Black American will look like Stephen Curry. The Black community is morphing into mulattoes. And I came to know this because, like, whenever someone who I went to high school with or grew up with, whenever they have a baby, and I'm talking about Black people, who I grew up with, whenever I see their child, their baby, it's never dark skinned. The baby is never dark skinned. It's always brown skin or light skin. And it's interesting, but it wasn't like this back in the day. It was not like this back in the day. In the Black community, we've seen light skinned Black people and brown skinned Black people in the Black community for the last couple of 100 years. But in the history of the Black American community, there's never been a point of time where a majority of the Black community was not dark skinned. You know, dark skinned Black people have always been the majority of the skin tone of the African American community until now. Um, Even with millennials, with the millennial generation in the Black community, I'll say, I'll say, I'll say, with the millennial generation of the Black community born like from the early 80s to like the mid 90s, I'll probably say 6 out of 10 millennial Black people born in the 80s to the mid 90s, 6 out of 10 millennial Black people are dark skinned. You know, 6 out of 10, I'll say. And it might vary depending on what part of the country you live in. Yeah, but you still saw with the millennial generation of black community a decent amount of dark skinned black people. But now, man, you see these black kids, black babies. No black people nowadays are having dark skinned children, and I mean, it's not too much of a shock because something similar has happened like this in our history. Black Americans were mixed with European, so our ancestors, our female ancestors, were having children by white men, and that's been happening for a couple hundred years. And so this is actually not the beginning of the black community morphing into mulattoes. It started a couple hundred. It started since we came to this nation. But even then, during slavery and back in the days, still most black people were dark skinned. You know, there was never a point in our history where the majority of our people were not dark skinned. And we ultimately have to ask ourselves, why is this phenomenon occurring? Why is this occurring? And yeah, I know one of the main reasons this is occurring is dark skinned black men are not reproducing. Yeah, dark skinned black men are not reproducing. And yeah, if dark skinned black men were reproducing with black women, you'll definitely see a whole lot more um, dark skinned babies and children walking around, wouldn't you? You know, and you can't really blame this on black men. You can't really blame this on black men because women nowadays, women are the gatekeepers of sex. Women are the gatekeepers of sex. Men are not. So you can't really blame this our community turning into mulattoes on men. You know, there's a lot of dark skinned black men who try to talk to black women and try to date black women, and a lot of dark skinned brothers, especially during our younger years, we get rejected by the sisters. That's just how it is. And so basically, since dark skinned black men, a lot of dark skinned black men, majority, I'll probably say like 95% of the dark skinned black men do not get play from black women. So and the percentage might even be higher. I'm being generous and saying 95%. It really might fuck around and be like 98%. Like most dark skinned black dudes don't get play from black women like that. It is what it is. Most of the black men who run through black women and have sex with a whole bunch of black women are like brown skinned and light skinned dudes. And those brown skinned and light skinned dudes who black women pick, those are the dudes who black women are having children by, right? So that's why we don't see dark skinned black babies like that. Because black women are not having children by dark skinned black men. They're having children by these light skinned black men, these brown skinned black men, and a lot of these black women are having children with other races of men also. And I wouldn't be surprised if black women of today's generation are getting pregnant by other races of men more than they are getting pregnant by dark-skinned black men. Let me repeat that. I would not be surprised if black women are getting pregnant by other races of men more than they get pregnant by dark-skinned black men. Some people might say, "Oh, that's nonsense, that's crazy," but shit, man, you never know. Most black men are childless. They say 51% of black men are childless. Actually, I think that's false, man. I believe like around 75% or even higher of black men are childless. And the rate of dark skinned black men being childless, that's probably down there like 90%. Most dark skinned black men are not getting pussy from black women. Despite what they say, a lot of black women say they love dark skinned black men, they want a chocolate brother. But ask these same black women who say they love dark skinned black men, ask them when's the last time they slept with a dark skinned black man. Ask these black women when was the last time they dated a dark skinned black man. I guarantee you they'll stay silent. They won't even answer because they know they're not really fucking with the chocolate brothers like that. And the reason I'm saying this because I am a dark skinned black man, and I know from firsthand experience like how hard and how hard it is for a dark skinned black man to get with a black woman. Even if you're a dark skinned black man who's conventionally handsome, a lot of our sisters are so color struck. Even a conventionally handsome dark skinned black man nowadays will have a problem getting with a lot of black women. It's a sad thing. So the root of this problem is with black women. You know, a lot of our black women, they're just not choosing the dark skinned brothers. They're not having children by dark skinned black men. You know, and especially with dark skinned black women, if a dark skinned black man has children by a dark skinned black woman, that baby's gonna be dark skinned. You know, so we're not seeing a lot of dark skinned black people mate and have children together. If that was happening, we'll be seeing dark skinned black children left and right, wouldn't we? You know, a lot of these black women are having children by lighter skinned men or other races of men. And if this trend continues, like I said earlier in the video, in this live stream, within a generation or two, if this trend continues within a generation or two, the average black American will look like Stephen Curry, light skinned and looking biracial. Dark skinned black men are being robbed from the sexual market. And we're seeing it. Like, none of these women are having children by dark skinned black men. If a dark skinned black man has a baby with a brown skinned woman, that baby probably has a 7 out of 10 chance of being dark skinned. You know, if a dark skinned black man has a child with a dark skinned black woman, right? There's probably like a 9 out of 10 chance that baby will be dark skinned, right? If a dark skinned black man has even a child with a light skinned black woman, that child probably has like at least 5 out of 10 chance of being dark skinned, you know? So like this shows you like this phenomenon is happening because dark skinned niggas just ain't getting no pussy from black women. Yeah. And it's crazy. It's crazy, right? People would say back in the 80s, people always say back in the 80s, dark skinned black men were not getting any play. And That's crazy. People say that, right? That back in the 80s and early 90s, dark skinned black men were not getting any play, but we saw more dark skinned black children being born in the 80s and early 90s than we do today. So that means the crisis of dark skinned black men being overlooked by black women is worse today than it was back in the 80s. And it's just an interesting topic. It's very interesting what's happening right in front of our eyes. I mean, basically, the black community is going extinct. The black community is endangered, you know. But if this keeps on going, man, hey, we're gonna lose the black community because let's say if these light skinned black kids who are being birthed today, if they start dating white people, it only takes one generation, right? If these light skinned black people who are being born today, which are the majority of the black babies and toddlers and children of today, if they have children and have children by other races of people, you know, the black community is basically going to be extinct, you know. So how do we solve this problem? Like we have to ask ourselves, how do we solve this problem? And yeah, I mean, we have to eliminate self hate in our community, mainly our women, you know. And one of the ways to do that is, you know, teach our children, educate our children on Black history. You know, educate our children on Black history. Tell our children about all the beautiful things that our people have accomplished. You know, and if we teach our children about true Black history, about our rich history, and all the beautiful, amazing things that our people have accomplished, our children will have a deep appreciation and acceptance of their blackness, and they won't feel like they have to date a light skinned person, a white person. You know, they'll love their blackness and then want to mate with a dark skinned person. You know, so one of the root fixes to this problem is in a household. You know, but all right, you guys, peace.